Hi, welcome to Unspoken History. My name is Keisha, and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to read chapter 2 of the, hold on, let me go back and make sure I get my right page here. All right, so I'm going to read chapter 2 of the Mongol conquest of America, Peru, Mexico. Okay, it's the historical researches on the conquest of Mexico, Peru, Mexico, Bogota, Natchez, and Tolimico in the 13th century by the Mongols. All right, so I went too far. I like physical books better than digital books, although I am glad this is available. But I'd rather be holding that thing in my hand. Okay. I shall relate, says Garcia de la Vega, what Pedro de Leon told me that he heard in the province where giants arrived. They affirmed, said he, in all Peru that certain giants came ashore on this coast at the cape now called St. Helens, which is near the town of Porto. Those who have preserved this tradition from father to son says that these giants came by sea in a kind of rush boat made like large barks, that they were so enormously tall that from the knee downward they were as high as common men. Okay, so common man is about 5, 6 foot tall, maybe. So let's add that by 3 because he had the knee. So we got this part and this part and the head. He could be potentially have been 20 foot tall, maybe 21, maybe. I don't know. That's a big person or a big thing or whatever it was. All right. It says that they were as high as a common man, as common men, that they had long hair which hung loose upon their shoulders, that their eyes were as large as plates. That's funny. And that other parts of their bodies were big in proportion, and that they had no beard, and that some went naked, others were covered with the skins of wild beasts, and that they had no women with them. So they traveled with no women. Wonder why they made that special point. Made it a point that it came without women. How dare they come to take ours? After having landed at the Cape, they established themselves at a spot pointed out to them by the inhabitants. They dug very deep wells through the rock, and which to this day supply excellent water. So these giants dug through the rock, and the water came out, and the people still using that water hole or whatever. These giants lived by the rapine and desolated the whole country. They say that they were such gluttons that one would eat as much meat as 50 of the native inhabitants, and that for part of their nourishment they caught a quantity of fish with nets. They massacred the men of the neighboring parts without mercy. The wretched Indians often try to devise some means to rid themselves of these troublesome visitors, but they never had either sufficient force or courage to attack them. Secure from all apprehension, these new monsters tyrannized. Thus tyrannized. I guess it's tyrannized for a long while, committing the most infamous enormities. Divine justice sent fire from heaven with a great noise, and an angel armed with a flaming sword, by whom they were destroyed at one blow. Boy, the earth used to be a dynamic place because it seemed pretty like nothing's going on now. We don't see no angels and flaming swords and fire coming down, just burning up one section of the world. It's interesting. To serve as an eternal monument of the vengeance of God, their bones and skulls were not consumed by the fire, but are found at the very place of an enormous size. I have heard Spaniards say that they have seen bits of their teeth, by which they judged that a tooth weighed more than a half a pound. As for the rest, it is not known for what place they came, nor by what route they arrived. I learned this year, 1550, when I was at the Ville de la Rose, that during the viceroyalty of Don Anthony Mendoza in New Spain, bones have been found there of a still greater size than the above mentioned. I also heard that in the city of Mexico, some have been found in an old sepulchre, and also in another place in the same kingdom. We may infer from this that these giants have existed, and that what authors have written about them is not fabulous. Another wonderful thing is that at Cape St. Helens there are springs of liquid pitch, which is fit for the purpose of shipbuilding. Peru, like the rest of the New World, was originally possessed by small independent tribes, differing from each other in manners and in their form of rude policy. Okay. All, however, are said to have been so little civilized that they must be classed among the most unimproved savages of America, roaming about naked in the forest. Do you believe that people were roaming around naked in the forest? Just because they show us those pictures of people doing that in other places, who knows? Everything's a psyop. Be looking like people posing for the picture. Is it over? Okay, can I put my clothes back on? Anyway.